Let's start with the Manglacharan and they will join in.
Okay.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamayam Tadadi Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvedam Swavadudam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavani Vrishabhanute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpataruvyashta Kirpa Sindhuvaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi
Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. As we are waiting for Prashanta Mataji to join, Soni Mataji, are you there? Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Okay, we can do the Shishtastakam.
Sixtastakam.
Shishtastakam.
It's a sixtastakam.
Shishtastakam.
I don't know, it's a difficult word. I'm using my phone.
Okay.
Give me your phone.
Okay, Mataji has joined us. So.
All right. Okay, so we'll just continue.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prashanta Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for joining us. Dandvat Pranam.
Dandavad. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Good evening.
Good evening,
everybody.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Do we have any participants today?
Yes.
We always have Shashwin's family. Very every time. Very nice. Rachel seems to be there.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can everybody switch on their videos just so that Mataji can see you and then you can switch off? Hare Krishna, Mataji. That's Rachel.
Haribo, Rachel. Nice to see you.
Krishna, nice to see you.
That is Kumar Prabhuji. That is Shashwin's dad in the car.
Okay, okay.
That is Tony Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Khushbu's joined as well, but I think video might not be working.
Okay, so we will start.
We can start with some kirtan. We did the Manglacharan, Mataji.
Okay. Today I will not play the mridanga. Let's see if you can hear better.
Okay.
Because I'm having an Android phone and it looks like it's not communicating the music very well.
Okay. Okay, Mataji, whatever.
Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari Gopi Janava Girivardhani Gopi Janava Girivardhani Yashoda Yashoda Nanda Jamuna Tira Jamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Hariva, 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 Jai Shri Radha Madhav ki jai. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamai Bhandavati Swapadantikam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhattavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Today we are reading chapter 3, Karma Yoga, verse number 41.
Yes, Mataji.
Which is part of the last section of this chapter, in which after hearing the recommendations that Krishna was giving to Arjuna, that one in life should act out of duty and should learn to sacrifice unto the Supreme Lord and live a life which is conducted by duty and sacrifice. Arjuna asked a very brilliant question, which is basically, I want, but I can't. I would like very much, I want, but I can't. Saying that, yes, we understand that piety is better than impiety, and living a life of duty and sacrifice unto the Lord is the ideal. However, people are not able to do that. And the question is why? We want to do good and suddenly we are doing the opposite. Why? So that question was asked by Arjuna. What is it that forces us? There's like somebody that is pushing us to do things which we don't really want to do. Especially after reading the Bhagavad Gita, certain things we know we should not be doing. They will cause us suffering. But in spite of all that knowledge, still we entangle ourselves in activities which are non-beneficial for us and for others. So this was Arjuna's question. And in answer to this, Krishna has explained the role of lust in our life. Kama. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajo guna samudbhavaha. The trouble is the mode of passion, of course mixed with the mode of ignorance. The lower modes of nature are influencing us, and they generate different things. And from the mode of passion is generated an endless desire for enjoyment. It's a motivation for, or an impetus for constant activity. People who are passionate, so they are very passionate. What does that mean? They have constantly some new ideas and some new desires, and they are very much intent on satisfying their desires. They are ready to do anything to satisfy their desires. People who are passionate, they are also usually very, they act impulsively. There's not much connecting the desire. Where is the desire? The desire is in the mind. And higher than the mind is the intelligence. But in a passionate person, the intelligence and the mind are not connected in the right way. The intelligence is supposed to knowing the purpose, the goal of life, what is right, what is wrong. The intelligence is supposed to guide the mind. But in a passionate person, the mind controls the intelligence. And that is the downfall of the individuals. So Krishna has explained the nature of lust, that self-centered desire to enjoy, to take advantage of life, to squeeze out some pleasure out everything and anything. And he said that that lust is actually an enemy. It is an enemy. It's the greatest enemy because it takes us to hell. Lust, greed, anger, 3 gates taking us to hell. These 3 things, they push us to do things which we are going to regret in the future, afterwards. Afterwards, we will realize, oh, I should never have done this. Why did I do it? I was under the impetus of that formidable, it's used the word formidable, that formidable enemy, lust. So after explaining, another thing that he said about lust is that it can never be satisfied. We get some desire, we want something, and we go for it, we go after it, we endeavor like a donkey, and we get it. And after getting it, you would think, now peace. I got what I wanted. But that never happens. I got what I wanted, but it's not exactly enough. The more I get, the more I want. So that is the nature of lust. It's that it keeps increasing. It keeps, it burns like fire, Krishna says. It burns like a fire. So how does the fire burn? The fire burns when we put fuel into it. We put fuel into the fire, it grows bigger. Then you put more fuel and it grows bigger and bigger and bigger. So satisfying one's material desires is like putting fuel into a fire. The more we try to satisfy material desires, the more these material desires grow in size, in intensity, in frequency. And today we have reached verse number 41, in which, because we understood that lust is so dangerous, this tendency to enjoy is so dangerous for us. So the question comes, how do I stop it? How can we stop this fire of lust? And the answer is given today in 41. So that's an important verse. How do we control these lusty propensities? So this is what Krishna says here. Tasmat tvam indrina nyado niyamya bharatarshava papmanam prajahihyenam jnana vijnana nashanam. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, Adau, it's said here, Adau, in the very beginning, Niyamya, curb this great symbol of sin or lust by regulating the senses. Indriyani, Niyamya. Niyamya means regulating. We know the word niyam. There is yam and niyam. The yam is what we should not do. It's the don'ts. And the niyam is the do's. Positive engagement. So niyamya, it means regulation. By regulating the indriyas, or the senses. O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning curbed this great symbol of lust by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So this is another characteristic of lust which is given today. It is jnana vijnana nashanam. Nashanam means the destroyer. It destroys. What does it destroy? Jnana and Vijnana. Both of those refer to spiritual knowledge. Lust will take away our spiritual knowledge. When we fall prey and the lust, and we go into enjoying something, we forget everything about our spiritual life. I'm sure all of us have this experience. That otherwise we are trying to be Krishna conscious, we are reading, we are chanting, we are taking darshan of the deities, and then one day something comes before our eyes and we gotta get it, we gotta get it, we gotta get it, and we go after something, overwhelmed with lust. And at that time, do we remember the purpose of life? No, we have forgotten. At that time, do we remember that I'm not this body? No, because what I want is specifically for this body. It is to be enjoyed by some of the senses of this body. It is some pleasurable form. It is some very odorant, beautiful smell. It is something nice for my sense of hearing. It is something nice for my sense of taste. And of course, the topmost is that it's something which satisfies lust in the way of sex life. So at the time when I'm running after some object of sense gratification, I am this body. It's all about squeezing a drop of happiness out of this body. So when I get overwhelmed with lust, I forget that I'm not this body. Completely. Srila Prabhupada explains there are two kinds of knowledge, as mentioned here, jnana and vijnana. And lust will destroy both kinds. What is jnana? Prabhupada explains in the purport that jnana means the knowledge of the soul, the power to distinguish the body from the soul. So this is the fruit already of following the Vedas. One comes to the point of knowledge, jnana, and by which one understands oneself to be the soul. And having understood oneself to be the soul, one starts cultivating what? Vijnana. And what is Vijnana? One thing is to understand I am the soul. Okay, this is already something very exceptional, that knowledge, that hardly any people have that knowledge. If you walk around in the street, and I remember many years ago, I was 20 years old when by Krishna's grace, I understood, oh, I am not this body. Interesting. I am not this body. I am the spirit with it. I was so enthusiastic about this discovery, which changed, or I wouldn't say changed, but gave a purpose to my otherwise purposeless life. I could not adjust with material arrangements, material life, material plans. It didn't make any sense to me. When I discovered I'm not this body, I'm like, oh yeah, that was the missing link. I am not this body. So now I know what to do in this life, what is to be done. I must understand who I am. That is the purpose of my life. Ki ami, ke ami. Who am I? And this is what I need to understand. And this is the purpose, and I have nothing else to do in this lifetime but to just understand the soul, the science of the soul, the identity, the nature of the soul. So this is jnana. And when I went I was so enthusiastic that I started preaching right away, telling the people, listen, 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 do you know? We are not the body. And the people would look at me like, maybe escaped from an asylum? What is this person saying? They thought, she's crazy. Especially I was in France, my native country, and I would stop the people and tell, do you know, we are not this body, we are not this body, we are the spirit within. And immediately they go, no, spirit? You mean ghost? And after trying like this for a few weeks to convince people, whether in the family or whether everywhere where I went, that we are not this body, I understood it's hopeless. It is my duty to share that knowledge, but the people are not at all understanding. And I remember that when someone preached to me, initially I also did not understand. But at least I was inquisitive and I was inclined to investigate the matter. But most people are not inclined to investigate the matter. They are not interested at all in jnana. Why? Because they are so lusty. They are so much under the control of the mode of passion that they identify with this body in a way that they very much cherish. They cherish their connection with the body. Because the body is giving them happiness, sukha it is called, the happiness of sense gratification. So, and Srila Prabhupada explains that when people get married and produce a family and all, if they are not Krishna conscious, they are not God conscious, then this association of man and women, and then the subsequent development of the family, then property, and all kinds of what do you say, paraphernalia, this actually increases more and more and more and more the bodily concept of life. Everything is about I, me, and mine. And the connection between the parents and the children is so strong, so strong. There is a total identification. The body of the children is like an expansion of one's own body. And just try to tell something else to a mother, she cannot understand. That actually you are two different entities with two different destinies altogether. And your relationship is not permanent. Try to tell that to a mother who just had a child, that, actually your relationship with your child is impermanent. She'll either kick you in the face or she'll start crying, unable to understand. So the propensity to enjoy destroys our sense of discrimination. And Vijnana means, it's also knowledge, but deeper knowledge. The first step is to understand I am not this body, but this is a negative definition. I am not this body. What am I? So Gyan will say you are the soul, the living entity or the active principle within this body, which makes it look alive. Whereas actually the body is never alive. The body is a piece of matter and it is not alive. But when the soul is within the body, it electrifies the matter and it makes it move in all kinds of directions. We produce a smile, we produce a frown. So this is all due to the electrification of the matter, which constitutes the body, by the energy of the soul, which is the consciousness. The energy of the soul is the consciousness. So Vijnana, what is Vijnana? It is the step after. Okay, I am a soul. Am I satisfied with that knowledge? I am a soul, I am a soul, I am a soul. No, there are further questions after that. What is the soul? What is the soul? Where does it come from? So when we go deeper and we realize, Vijnana sometimes is also known as realized knowledge. When we come to know more about the soul, this is internal knowledge, because where is the soul? The soul is within us. So when we turn within and we investigate the nature of the soul, then we enter the field of Vijnana. And the first realization of Vijnana is like when we are identified with the body, we feel a connection with the world around us. I feel a connection with the place where I took birth. I feel a connection with the family that I took birth in. I feel a connection with all the people that I've met. If I have children, I feel a connection with the children. I feel a connection with so many objects that I have collected over the years from various places. I feel connected. I feel connected with everything which is around me. Vijnana means when one starts experiencing identification with the soul and simultaneously disconnection from all external connections. And this is followed by discovering a connection, because the soul is not floating independently in the wilderness or in the ether or some kind of spiritual substance. The soul is not independent. When we start realizing the soul, which is ourselves, the first thing we will perceive is that the soul is connected. There is another connection. The soul is connected somewhere. The soul is like, it is sometimes called prabha or light. And it is compared in the Upanishads to a ray of the sun. The rays of the sun are not independent. And they can never be cut from their origin, which is the sun. They emanate from the sun. The sun is a burning ball, a burning planet, a burning ball, an amazing emanation of energy, practically endless, at least as far as the history of the universe or the lifetime of the universe is concerned. The sun burns from the beginning of the universe until the end of the universe and spreads light all over the universe, because light doesn't stop anywhere. It keeps going. It emanates and it keeps going. So the light of the sun spreads all over the universe. And the rays of light that come from the sun, they are never separate from the sun. They emanate from the sun. They are the energy of the sun. And they don't exist independently. As long as they are connected to the sun, they shine. They shine, and their shine comes from the sun. And you can never cut them. It's just not possible to cut them. You cannot cut a piece of a ray of sun and put it somewhere. No, in the darkness. You cannot do that. It cannot be cut. It is sanatana. There is a constant, eternal connection between the soul and its source. This is the beginning of self-realization, is to feel oneself connected somewhere else. And initially, it's not very clear, what am I connected to? But you feel there is a connection. And vijnana means to understand that connection. Understand and come to know about it, to realize it. So, of course, our scriptures are defining this very clearly, that as rays of the sun, particles of the sun, we are part of the universal sun, or the existential sun, the total mass of energy. We are part of the whole. And as a part, we are subservient. In other words, we are a servant. That's what we preach in the Krishna consciousness movement. Dasa, 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 no dasa. We are in a position of service towards the whole. And vijnana means to understand, what is my service? To understand that the soul is a personal principle. We are persons, and the origin of our existence is also a person. And that connection is a personal connection, which we otherwise know under the name of relationship. We have a relationship with the source of our existence, which is also the totality of existence. So discovering that relationship, that is called vijnana. And finding, ultimately having the realization of our eternal identity and relationship and service to the whole, that is the topmost vijnana. So that kind of self-realization, which, as you understand, is very deep and has nothing to do with our day-to-day material identity. It is a completely different identity. So that vijnana, that realization will never, never occur in the heart of a lusty person. Because when we talk of vijnana, we talk of love. The relationship between the soul and the super soul, or the Lord, the origin of our existence, is of the nature of love. Whereas our relationship with things of this world, via the material body, in forgetfulness of our eternal relationship with the Lord, that relationship with everything around us, that is lust. We want to take. Lust means to take and extract the juice for ourselves. And love means to give. Lust means to dominate, manipulate, exploit, whereas love means to serve, to give, to please. They are opposites, but they are connected. Lust is said to be a perverted form of love. It's a perverted form. So here, let us see what Srila Prabhupada says. how to curb that lust. The explanation which is given very simply is that niyamya. One must, it is said here from the very beginning, one must regulate. Prabhupada said the Lord advised Arjuna to regulate the senses from the very beginning so that he could curb the greatest sinful enemy, lust, which destroys the urge for self-realization and specific knowledge of the self. So the specific knowledge is vijnana, and the general knowledge that is just knowing oneself as not the body. So lust will cut us off from this self-realization. So what is to be done? Here it says that one should be educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning of life. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read Kaumaram Acharet Pragya. From the age of Kaumara, Kaumaravasta. What is that age? Well, it's around 5 years old, Srila Prabhupada said. Children, which we have been, when we come out of the womb of the mother, we are not fully functional. We are dependent physically 100% on our parents, especially the mother. And our intelligence is not yet developed. Our communication skills are not developed. Our mind is not fully developed. And it takes time for the child to grow. In fact, for a man, it takes around 25 years. If you think of it, it's quite a bit of time. They said a man is not an adult before the age of 25. That's an average, of course. So when we are very small, mostly the means for taking care of a child under the age of 5 is simply to give him a lot of affection and take care of the emotions, which are always bubbling in a child. The child is distressed, fearful, happy. He goes through emotions all the time. And the main duty of the mother is to somehow take care of all these emotions and keep them in balance. And this lasts for quite some years, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So, but by the age of 5, in fact, it is said before the age of 5, one should not punish the children very heavily, because they cannot understand. Their power to understand is not developed fully. But by the age of 5, the child starts understanding plus, minus, good, bad. He starts discriminating. The intelligence is functioning. And it is at that age exactly that the training must start. Niyamya. Not letting the child do whatever he wants. Sometimes you hear people say, oh, he's sleeping. But what time is it? It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Oh, it's Sunday, he's sleeping. So this is not a good service to the children. The children must be taught sense control and regulation. They must be taught regulation from the very, very beginning, which is the age of 5. And if the children are taught from the very beginning, I remember some meeting some people in India who were born in very traditional Brahminical families, telling me that, oh, we were like 7 or 9 brothers and sisters in my family. No one would ever sleep after 6 in the morning. Father was up very early. Mother was up very early. And we all knew as children that there is absolutely no scope for sleeping after 6. It just does not exist. Everyone is up before sunrise or around sunrise. All the children are up, small ones, big ones, everybody gets up. And first thing was, as I said, this was quite some time ago, roll away the bed. Roll away the sleeping arrangement. They had folding mattresses and some sheets, and they would have to roll away everything. And next thing was clean the floor. All the 7 little kiddies, one is bringing the bucket of water, one is bringing the mop, one is bringing, clean the floor. And next thing is, what does mother say? Straight to the bathroom. Straight. You go, answer the call of nature, and then go and take bath, wash your clothes. Not that you leave it for mommy to take care in the corner of the bathroom. No, wash your clothes. And if in between one is a little goes to the mother. Where is the mother? 6 o'clock in the morning, either she's doing puja or she's in the kitchen. The child comes at the kitchen, mother doesn't say, oh, poor little thing. Of course, she may speak affectionately, but one thing she will say for sure, we are not. Have you taken bath, beta? You have taken bath? Have you taken bath? You have not taken bath? Then you cannot enter the kitchen. You know you cannot enter the kitchen if you have not taken bath. You go take bath and then mommy will give you a big hug. That is training with love, but with some regulation. This is very different from the modern life. Let them do whatever they want. If they want to sleep, let them sleep. If they want to smoke, let them smoke. They want to drink, let them drink. They want a girlfriend at the age of 11, let them have it. Don't frustrate them. It's not frustrate the children. But here Srila Prabhupada and Krishna says from the very beginning of life, if we want to avoid this enemy, then we should be trained to regulate the senses. Now, Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he also speaks of the late beginner, because we were not all born in a Brahminical family where you have to roll up your bed in the morning. It didn't happen like that. We were born all over the world in different kinds of families. So Prabhupada said that from the very beginning, that also means whenever you come to know that the senses should be regulated, they should not be let to do whatever random. From the moment you understand the urgency, what is the urgency? Death is coming down the alley. And whatever you remember at the time of death, that you shall become. That is the urgency. We have to somehow save ourselves from another round in this material world by regulating the senses. And how does Srila Prabhupada propose that we regulate the senses? He says, by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So this is the first goal of our practice of devotional service. Of course, ultimately our goal of doing devotional service is to develop love of God, which Srila Prabhupada says is natural. It's just it has been covered by these lower modes of material nature. Otherwise, we naturally are connected with the Lord. We naturally have a Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, and the soul is eternal. And our relationship with the Supreme Lord is also eternal. So it is very natural to actually turn to the Lord, to love the Lord, to serve the Lord. It's natural, but we have forgotten. So what are these principles? Very simple. They have been taught to us by Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam. This is Bhakti's chain Navalakshanam, the 9 principles of devotional service. When all these are offered to the Supreme Lord, then the result is that we uncover our relationship with Him. So this is what we have to do, how to regulate the senses. If you have to speak, the senses need positive engagement. If you have to speak, speak about the Lord. Preach the glories of the Lord. Say something which is favorable to the Lord. Enlighten the people. Sing songs about the Lord. If you have to sing, your sense of speech should be controlled, not to go out and start speaking prajalpa or something. No, you have to bring it back under the control of the self by speaking Krishna Katha, or speaking about service, or speaking, remain Krishna conscious in the speech. Similarly with the hearing. Practice hearing about Krishna. Practice hearing devotional songs instead of rock songs. Change. The process of Krishna Bhakti is wonderful because it is not a process of negation. It is a process of engagement of the senses. And if you have to think about something, so you have to provide all kinds of thoughts about Krishna so that your mind can think. Therefore, you should look at beautiful pictures of the spiritual world. You should hear about the spiritual world. Then your mind automatically will remember the spiritual world, will remember Krishna, will remember devotional service. Engage in archanam, worship the form of the deity. That is very, very powerful means for controlling the senses, because the deity will engage all our senses. Our hands will be making outfits, will be making jewelry, will be cooking, will be cleaning. Our hands, our feet, our hands will be engaged. Our head will bow down. Our eyes will see the deity. Our mouth will eat the prasadam of the deity. So this is full engagement of the senses. And Pada Sevana, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, which also includes engaging our own feet in going to the temple, in going to the place of pilgrimage. So this is how we engage our feet in the service of the Lord. And then it goes on. There are higher and higher aspects of devotional service. And we are given rules by the acharyas how to engage ourselves. Get up in the morning, preferably early in the morning. Take bath. Why take bath? To remove tamas, remove rajas, invite sattva, the mode of goodness. And then starts praising the Lord. See the beautiful form of the deity. And then sit down and remember the Lord by chanting japa. worship the spiritual master, accept prasadam, and live a day full of engagements in Krishna consciousness, spreading this knowledge all over the world. This is the way to engage our senses and control them. There is no actual negation. Everyone should engage their senses according to their own propensities and engage them in the service of Krishna. And when all the senses are engaged in the service of Krishna, that lust transforms back into love. And we begin loving the people instead of lusting over them. And we begin loving the Lord instead of rebelling against him. Okay? So we stop here. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much. On behalf of everybody, I offer my humble obeisances. Thank you for today's class. I think it has clarified a lot of concepts. I have one question before I go on to the audience as they are thinking about other questions. Mataji, you said that Jnana is knowing that we are the soul. We are not this body, we are the soul. Vijnana is going deeper into it and knowing that we have a relationship with the Supreme Personality. And then what is, so Vijnana is specific knowledge. Then what is self-realization? Is it the same as Vijnana, or I didn't understand that?
Self-realization is Jnana and Vijnana.
Okay.
That is self-realization.
Okay. So both
yes. The Jnana is the very beginning. It can even be theoretical knowledge, like we understand we are the soul, but Vijnana, the self-realization actually mostly applies to Vijnana, because Jnana is just the very beginning of knowledge.
Thank you.
So self-realization means actually to discover oneself. And who is the self? The self is the soul. So actually we can say that it rather refers to Vijnana, self-realization. Because Jnana is just the first step. Okay, I'm not this body, I'm the soul. But then you have to realize the soul, which is the self.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Let's go on to the questions. Mansi Ganga Mataji, would you like to say something before I go on to question answer session?
Not say, I was putting my finger up and I thought you saw it. Well, Anthony, Arthapriya, they're all there. I would like to thank them, Bhavamai. Anyway, but they come regularly, so I'm really happy that they do. And especially on Saturday, 6 o'clock. And Anthony comes, and even Rachna is there from India. So this thing was one I wanted to share, like Prashanta. We get so over enthusiastic when we get to know Krishna consciousness. I remember, like Prashanta said, she got to know about you're not the body, and she got excited. And I went to Juhu Temple in 1980, and I heard, oh, these people, they work like asses. And my brother-in-law was an industrialist. So I come and I have this argument. I say, you people are just working like asses. So when she was saying that, I thought, God help, we get so enthusiastic. We want to change the world in one day just because we have heard the philosophy. I still remember when she reminded me, I said, you people are all working like asses. Where are you going to go with this? Then later on, as you mature, you realize you don't do this kind of preaching to people. Anyway, that remembrance came to me when she said how I said, you know, you're not this body and they think you're crazy. And I had a question, but I forgot. Give somebody else the chance, then maybe the question will come back to me.
Okay, so there are two questions. One is from Rachel Mataji and one is from Vivek Prabhuji. I'll read out Rachel Mataji's question and Vivek Prabhuji will ask his question after that. Hare Krishna. in the 9 processes of devotional service, what really is the difference between Pada Sevanam and Dasyam? Dasyam and Pad Seva.
Okay. Well, usually Pada Sevanam is it's related. It means serving the lotus feet of the Lord, which also refers to Kriya Seva, which means serving things which are related to the Lord, such as, for example, serving the Dham. That is Pada Sevanam. The Dham is considered the lotus feet of the Lord. He was walking in the Dham. So by serving the Dham, which includes doing parikrama, visiting the Dham, this is part of Pada Sevanam. Serving Srimati Tulsi Devi, for example, that is also Pada Sevanam, because Tulsi is related to the Lord's lotus feet. She is best placed at the feet of the Lord. So serving Srimati Tulsi Devi, that is also called Pada Sevanam. So sometimes serving the devotees is also Pada Sevanam. Dasyam is a more advanced method of service to the Lord. You may or may not have heard, when you study the Nectar of Devotion, this book published by Srila Prabhupada, which is a summarized translation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a book compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. So when we study the Nectar of Devotion, we discover that there are actually 2 types of bhakti. One bhakti is called Vaidhi Bhakti, which is a form of bhakti which we all have to perform, which is following rules and regulations, worshipping the Lord through various rules and regulations which are given by the Shastra and by the Acharyas. And at the level of Vaidhi Bhakti, the devotee may have theoretically understood that I am not this body and Krishna is the Lord and I should be engaged in devotional service, but there is no impetus, really spontaneity from within. There is a general understanding and there's a desire to serve. But unless one follows the rules and regulations, if one doesn't follow, or if one leaves the association of the devotees, then it's just like a balloon that loses the air from inside, becomes empty. Because the natural love for the Lord has not yet been uncovered. So we need to push a little bit. We need help of others. We need help of rules and regulations for us to do things. And there is another type of bhakti which is called Raganuga Bhakti. Raga Anuga, which follows attraction. When we serve the Lord with attraction. It's not because it's written in the book. It's not because I know I'm not this body. It's not because somebody told me, or if I don't do it, I'll be punished. No, I feel, I want. There is spontaneously has awakened an attraction for serving the Lord. So Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, the last 3 of these processes of devotional service, they actually belong to Raganuga Bhakti. So they are higher forms of devotional service. Dasyam typically means serving the Lord, doing anything, whether it is cleaning the pots or doing something, with a feeling of servitude. Actually feeling like one is the servant of the Lord. Otherwise, we can also clean the pots thinking that we are the best pot cleaner in the whole temple. We can be cleaning the pots because we have to do it because we are staying in the ashram, and if we don't do the service, then we'll be kicked out of the ashram. There can be so many reasons for cleaning the pots, but dasya means actually feeling that these are Krishna's pots, and desiring to, feeling oneself as a servant of the Lord. So it involves a spontaneous service attitude, which is not there in Padasevana necessarily.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Vivek Prabhuji, please can you ask your question? Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. First of all, I am thankful to Prashanta Mataji. How she explains right from Krishna birth, then Radharani, and today taking us back to how we should bring up our children. So I'm really thankful to her. She explains in a very practical way, and we just reach there and we feel like that, yes, everything is possible and we can do it. So that's what we feel, Mataji, when you speak, that yes, we can do it. And that's very good energy you give us. But when we come back, when we come back to questions, then there is a lot of things which come up in our mind that, how now we are already late. As you know, we are in a stage where children are already grown up. For example, I tell my same link I send to my son also every day, and I ask him to join. He doesn't refuse, but he is not joining also. You understand? So that is some of a challenge, that just to join a class is a bit of a challenge for us, and how to overcome it. So that's what my question is: how to bring them in. We are starting this journey. We want them also to start this journey. So that's where I'm standing as on date, and my question is Hare Krishna.
Yes, very good point. That application is not always easy. You have to endeavor. And as far as the children, they are independent entities. The duty as parents, our duty is to give them the best, to do our best from our side. And here we are speaking of spiritual life. So we have to do our best to ensure that they are eating prasadam, that somewhat they are hearing about Krishna. We have to try to give them some Krishna conscious association. But how much they will take, this is not under our control. And that's why it is said that one must always act with detachment. This is always what Krishna is explaining in the Bhagavad Gita, that we must act with detachment. And this is attachment is natural in one sense, but it is not always very productive. So our love for our children is shown in how we can pray for them. We can pray for them. We can invite them to the satsang. It's okay. They got the invitation. You must understand that the invitation is for eternity. They got invited. One day they will go. Whether it is next week or whether it is 1 month later, or maybe it will be 10 years later, or maybe it will be when their parents die. That time they will remember, I should do what my father wanted me to do. Once their parents are dead and they won't get the satisfaction of seeing their children becoming devotees. So you don't know when they will take it up. So you have to be detached and you have to remain hopeful. As far as preaching to the young people, young people usually, one thing that Prabhupada said is that once they reach a certain age, they are not inclined to hear from their parents. It's natural. That's why in the Vedic understanding, the children are sent to school to be taught away from home, and they are taught by teachers. So the children will rather listen to someone other than their parents. It's just natural. That's the way it is. So, and in general, in this age of Kali, elderly people, and somebody who's 35, 40 is already very elderly for a 15 years old. Elders are not respected because the culture of respect is not flowing in the modern society. It is a culture of disrespect most of the time. So the respect for the elders is not there. And if you want them to take to Krishna consciousness, rather you have to, Krishna consciousness we catch it by association. So what would be good rather is to try to put the kids in contact with other kids who are Krishna conscious. And then together what they'll do, they'll do kirtan. They'll listen to some modern kirtans. They'll do things together. They'll share their Facebook images of this and that of Krishna, and they'll have an access to Krishna consciousness which is different from yours. You can hear philosophy. A teenager cannot usually, unless it's a special case, cannot hear philosophy. A teenager is full of passion by nature. So he wants something that rocks, So that will not be given by the elders. So usually youth preaching means put all the youth together and let them interact. And something they will do, they'll catch something of Krishna consciousness. So it would be good to actually put your children in touch with other children who are Krishna conscious, and so that they can influence each other and they can enjoy together, but in connection with Krishna. So that's one thing that I can say. You have to be detached. You cannot expect, especially when you could not catch them when they took birth, when they were 5, you did not train them in a certain way. You actually taught them sense gratification, and now you want them to be restrained. Very difficult to turn the car in the other direction. For young people, Krishna consciousness has to be fun. It has to be fun. It cannot be restriction. In fact, for none of us, who is looking for restrictions? And Krishna consciousness is actually not about restriction. It's about transcendental engagement, a different engagement. So in our movement, there are many youth forums. There are many sanghas of young people from all over the world. So they need to come in touch with that community of ISKCON youth. And that may inspire them, or it may not. But there's a greater chance that they'll be more inclined to spend time with people of their own age who are gonna know how to talk to them about Krishna, but not the way that I'm speaking, not the way that a regular class is given.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for making it so simple again. We will keep on trying.
Yeah, you can only do that. You can only try.
Yeah, maybe we'll start when we.
Yeah. And don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged. Just keep. Yeah. You see, these are 2 different accounts. Your account and the kids' account. These are 2 different accounts. So you do your best. It's your duty. You do your best, and you will be rewarded according to what you have done. And the kid is doing his own things. So it's two different accounts. So you can't
Yeah.
really, even though
And
as a parent, of course, you really, really, really want to give them the best. And when you know that Krishna consciousness is the best, it's so good. It's so life-changing. Naturally, you want to give that to your kids. So you have to pray to Krishna and don't give up, and always present Krishna consciousness positively to them.
And Mataji, there is one more very beautiful feeling you touched very nicely when you said that maybe they will do when we die. Because, my father passed away in 2016, December. And since then, every day I miss him. And I feel like I should do what he wanted me to do. So maybe they will have this
Exactly.
feeling.
Right.
Very important point you touched. Yeah. Thanks, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
And in the perspective of eternal life, 10 years, 20 years, or even one lifetime is nothing. So because they are in touch with you and the devotees in some way, they will become devotees. How long it will take, that we don't know. But it is just a flash of time when you see that we have been in this material world for millions and millions and millions of years. And so many lifetimes we have spent here. So if it takes just one more life to become Krishna conscious, what is the big problem? What's the haste? We just have to change our perspective.
Sure, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Confidence.
Kritika,
Yes, Mataji.
Prashanta Mataji had said she can't be there for long. It has to be short because she's doing this japa session, so she didn't want to. So I told her, you have to time yourself,
So,
Okay, I started yawning.
okay. Mataji,
So you have time.
Tell us, there are two more questions. Do you have time for them, or we can do it next time?
We can do one.
Okay, then I'll leave my question. I'll take the one that is on the chat. Hare Krishna, how can one get to remember that he is the soul and not body when he's not even searching for truth? Because most of the people ask for proof. And how can a person who is a Vaishnav forget and get into material life can get back to the service of the Lord?
So is that two questions or one question?
That is one, because the second was mine.
You're tricky.
Sorry, Mataji. I mean, I think there are 2 or 3 questions in this, but maybe you can answer one.
So how to realize or to remember that we are not this body, or have a proof that we are not this body? Prabhupada was like proving you can think logically. You have to think logically. And by logic, you can actually come to jnana. Vijnana is not by logic. Vijnana is attained by the mercy. But jnana can be attained by logic. Just observe. Srila Prabhupada says, do you say I nose? Do you say I ear? Do you say I hand? No. You say my nose, my ear, my hand. That means there is a possessor and there's a possessed. That is logic. One is the owner and one is the owned. So you go further. So who is the owner? Who is the I who says that this is mine? So Prabhupada said that this is the beginning of understanding oneself as different from the body. The body is considered mine. It's my property. But I don't identify with this because I don't say I body. And Prabhupada also says, show me your nose, show me your eye, show me your chest. Show me your hair. Now show me yourself. Myself. And most of the time people will show the chest when they show the self. The Brahma said, yes, you are inside there. The soul is inside. It's located in the region of the heart. But you cannot really show the self. Another point of logic is you can observe. This is observation. When you were a child, sometimes you see some pictures of yourself when you were a child. Some pictures when you were like 3 years old or 5 years old, or especially when you were very small, like 3 or under 3. So you see a picture of yourself.
Oh, so sweet.
So now, guess who this is?
Prashanta Mataji.
Indeed. So when I look at this picture, do I actually recognize myself? And the answer is no way. I don't. It's not recognizable. You cannot. Any picture of a kid can be me. It's like, I can't recognize. So how do I know it's me? It's because somebody told me. My mother gave me that picture and said, this is you when you were 3 years old. And I go like, wow, this is me when I was 3 years old. I believed it, but I cannot recognize. The body has changed so much that I cannot actually recognize who? Myself. In that case, who is the self? We believe the self to be the body. That's our belief. When we go in front of the mirror in the morning, we go like, oh, that's me. You look at yourself in the mirror and you think the person you see in the mirror, that's me. But so this is the general mistake, general belief. But if this person which I see in the mirror is me, then who is this? So Prabhupada says, the body changes, but the sense of self is permanent. And sometimes you cannot recognize the face there, you cannot recognize the person. But if I look at the surroundings here, I remember, yeah, this is the house where I lived. I can recognize. I used to walk down these steps here, and the wall was looking like this. And I know the steps were of a grayish color. I was in this body. I was there at that time. And when I was there, I was me. I said, and I had a sense of self. And now, so many years later, I still say I, and I relate this personality to myself today. It's the same person, but it is not the same body. So Prabhupada explained that. Another point he says, very practical, is when somebody dies. When there is a death in the family, this is a great time for self-realization, at least Atmagyan. Some person died and everybody's sitting around the body, crying, and suppose the father died. So the children are around the father's body, they are around the father, let's say. And what do they say? Suppose I come in, and what do they tell me? Father has gone. He has gone. That's what people say when people die, isn't it? He has gone. He has gone. He has gone. And me, the representative of Narada Muni, I ask, who's gone? Who is gone? And they say, Father has gone. But I said, no, Father is lying here. Who is your father? What did you think? Who did you think was your father all this time? Whenever you saw that body, you thought this was your father. You wanted to embrace your father. You wanted to be close to your father. So now, what's the difference? Why do you say father has gone? That father whom you embraced all your life is lying here on the bed. They say, no, he's gone, he's gone. Who is gone? Father is here. Who is gone? At that time when someone dies, knowledge comes to everyone that the person whom I loved was actually not the body. The person with whom I interacted was alive. And that person has gone. Who has gone? Prabhupada says, the soul has left the body. And the soul is the beloved, not the body. Out of illusion, we are attached to the body. But when the person dies, we realize that actually it was not the body that we were attached to. It was the person inside, and that person has gone. So these are logical ways to understand the difference between the body and the soul.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for such an excellent explanation. Okay, since we promised that was the last question, there are lots of people who have other questions, but we'll do it next Saturday at the same time, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. On
Hare
behalf
Krishna.
on behalf of
Everyone.
everybody, we'd like to glorify you. So please kindly unmute your mics, everybody, and let's chant one more time for Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Bol, Mataji.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Patitanam
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna.